Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. I was staying at a friend's house in an Eastern European neighborhood one night. My friend who lived there, who I'll call Ava, had already passed out from exhaustion, while another friend, who I'll call Abigail, and I were still up talking. We were getting quite bored and weren't really tired at all, so we decided to sneak out for a moment. Honestly, looking back, I have no idea what we were even thinking. Our plan was fairly simple. We would walk straight out, follow the road, and go to the town's river. We started out on our journey, clear that no one else was awake. The neighborhood was dead quiet too. We didn't really have much of a plan for what to do after we got to the river. We just kind of figured we'd hang out there for a while. You know, talk a bit about boys and maybe even smoke a cigarette or something. That's exactly what we did when we reached the park near the river. We found a very secluded spot and leaned against a swing set. We lit up a cigarette to share between us and barely noticed the time passing. It must have been a fair while, though. At some point, I noticed near the entrance of the park this middle-aged man just standing there, staring at us. We had our eye on him. He was also smoking a cigarette. As he started to walk towards us, my stomach began to drop. I whispered to Abigail that this was probably not a good thing. I nudged her to get her to stand up so we could start leaving immediately. We started to move quickly, but not obviously running or anything. We tried to pretend like we weren't really panicking yet and that we were just leaving normally. I kept glancing over my shoulder to check if the man was still following us. To my surprise, he wasn't. Instead, he turned around and walked right up to a wide van that had been parked nearby. That made me nervous too, because now it looked like he was waiting for us to leave. I saw the van pull out and begin to follow us from a distance. It wasn't super close, but it was close enough to be very clear that he was following us. We walked for what felt like forever. I thought we were close enough to Ava's house by now. Abigail, who had been leading the way, suddenly whispered to me that we were now lost. Neither of us lived in or knew the neighborhood at all, and we had no idea where Ava's house was. Heck, we had no idea where we were. I thought that we had been heading in the right direction, but now everything looked unfamiliar. Every corner we turned seemed to lead to more confusion. We kept turning down random roads, hoping to find something familiar, but the more we searched, the worse it got. I kept thinking about that van, which was still following us at a distance. We knew we had made a huge mistake, and as we walked, we tried to figure out what our next plan of action should be. Finally, to our surprise, we saw a familiar figure in the distance. It was Ava's dad standing at the end of the street, looking very pissed off, but relieved at the same time. He had a flashlight on him and had clearly been searching for us for some time. He didn't give us any chance to explain before dragging us back into the house. We were both shaken up and too scared to argue. We sure got the lecture of a lifetime from Ava's dad, but honestly, I'm just glad that we were safe now. Looking back, I can't help but feel like we had a guardian angel watching over us that night or something. Apparently, Ava had woken up in the middle of the night and found out that we were gone. She told her dad immediately. She was worried because she knew we must have been gone for a while. Our beds were already cold. It could have ended very differently for us. The man from the park who was following us in the van never tried to get any closer. He must have been waiting for us to stop or something. I don't even want to think about what might have happened if we hadn't been rescued right then and there and had just kept wandering around with him following us in the van. That night, we learned the hard way not to play around with things like that. Sometimes I still think about it and wonder how close we really were to something much worse happening to us. I used to go to Chuck E. Cheese sometimes when I was a kid. I always really enjoyed it. I would play the arcade games and eat the pizza they had, which I thought was fairly decent. Several of my friends had birthday parties there, and I had one there as well. My scariest experience, though, happened one time when I was there with my best friend, David. I was 7 years old at the time, but I remember it like it was just last week. I believe we were there on a Saturday morning. We got a bunch of coins and started playing all the arcade games. David's mom had taken us there, and I was going to be stopping by David's house to hang out afterward too. After playing arcade games and winning tickets for a while, I remembered that I was standing not too far away from the playground area. It was that spot that's basically like a place you'd see at McDonald's or Burger King, a slide, some monkey bars, tunnels, and stuff you can crawl through. I happened to glance over and saw a kid peeking out through the window of one of the elevated tunnels leading to a slide. He was just kind of staring at me really intensely. The kid was a few years older than me, and I didn't recognize him at all. I even looked around to make sure he was actually looking at me and not someone else, but he was definitely staring right at me. It was really weird. I looked away and moved to another area out of view of that kid. After a while, I pretty much forgot about it. We moved on to some other game. Maybe an hour later, though, I was still in the arcade with David, and I noticed the kid was staring at me again. He was peeking around the corner of some machine, staring at me once more with these big, wide eyes, a very intense stare. I was absolutely sure he was trying to scare me or prank me or something, and was just joking around. But it was still really weird. He was pretty far away too, basically on the complete other end of the arcade. Once more, I decided to just walk away. I went to another area and played a different game there. I thought the kid was definitely pretty strange, but I did my best to just try and forget about it. It's not like he'd really done anything else. Quickly, I was able to. We stayed at the Chuck E. Cheese for another hour or two. I'm not sure exactly. David's mom took us back to his house, which was not that far away. When we got back, David and I mostly hung out in his living room. I'm pretty sure we just played video games together and joked around a bit. The next thing I remember, though, it was already nighttime. My mom was coming to pick me up pretty soon. In the meantime, I was in the living room with David, right at the front of the house. I remembered that I looked out of David's front window and into the street. By now, it was completely dark out. Imagine my surprise when I saw what appeared to be the very same child from earlier, standing in the middle of the street, staring through the window at me once again. His eyes were wide, just like before. It was the creepiest thing I had ever seen. David saw him as well this time, and we both quickly covered the windows with the shades. We didn't dare to look back out until my mom had arrived. When I left, I didn't see the kid anywhere. He must have gone. I remember telling my mom about it, but she didn't really seem too concerned. I think she thought I was just making it up or possibly exaggerating. I still think it was insanely creepy, though. Especially weird, too. I don't think that kid was one of David's neighbors either. He didn't seem to recognize him at all. I guess it's still possible, though, and to me, that's the only real thing that makes sense. I still don't know why the kid would stare at me like that, or follow me and stand out in the street at night. Luckily, he never managed to do anything else, and I never saw that kid again after that. A few years ago, I went to see a movie with my girlfriend. We went one night when there were a decent number of other people around, but not too many. The theater was fairly quiet for the most part. I remember we climbed into our seats and started watching the previews. After a couple of them, my girlfriend said she was kind of hungry. Being the gentleman I am, I offered to go and grab us some food while she stayed there and saved our seats. I got up and left the theater to go back into the lobby. There were a few other people standing around and in line to get food. I got in the back of the line and started waiting. Not long after I'd gotten there, this one guy came up to me. He seemed to be about my age, but I didn't recognize him at all. The guy said my full name, which really surprised me. He started acting all friendly, like he knew me, like we were best friends. He said something like, "Hey, remember me?" I said no, I didn't. He then said he was good friends with Lucas, one of my old friends from high school. I hadn't seen Lucas in years, but in high school, we were pretty close. We played football together but went to different colleges and just didn't stay in touch after that. Even though I hadn't spoken to him in a long time, when this guy told me he knew Lucas, I felt a little more at ease. He said that Lucas was actually at the theater and I should come say hi real quick. I wanted to catch up a bit, so I told the guy sure, why not? I just had to be quick, since I was supposed to be getting food for my girlfriend who was waiting for me. The guy told me that Lucas was just around the corner, so I followed him. We went to the end of the lobby and down one of the hallways with theaters. This was the opposite side from where my movie was playing, the quieter side of the building, with fewer rooms. We walked all the way down and turned right into a quiet hallway with just one auditorium and some exit doors at the end. There was nobody else around. At that point, I noticed a small group of 3 or 4 people standing there. The strangest thing was that they were all wearing masks. I thought this was really weird, and the guy I was following was leading me right to them. Even though they had masks on, I knew Lucas well enough to be sure that he wasn't one of them. The guys all looked directly at me. As I got within about 50 feet of them, I had a really bad feeling. I stopped and instantly turned around. I started walking quickly back in the opposite direction. I heard the guy start yelling at me to come back, but I ignored him. I ran back to the lobby, where it was more crowded, and got back in line for food. While I was standing there, I saw the same guy peek out from around the corner and look around. He spotted me, but didn't do anything. As soon as he saw me, he disappeared back around the corner. I grabbed the food and headed back into the theater. I got back to my girlfriend just in time before the movie started. I tried to forget about the strange experience and just enjoyed the movie with her. For the most part, I was able to. But toward the end of the movie, for whatever reason, I felt the urge to look around. I glanced behind us and noticed the doors of the theater. Standing just inside them were 2 men wearing masks. Right after I looked at them, they immediately turned and walked out. It was especially creepy seeing them inside the dark theater like that. I looked back a few more times just to be sure, but I didn't see them again. After the movie, I told my girlfriend about what had happened. As we left, I was very careful to look around. Thankfully, I didn't see any of those people, and we were able to leave just fine. After that, I went back to that theater quite a few times and never saw any of them again. I also contacted Lucas and told him what happened. He said he had no idea about the situation, but thought he might know the guy who talked to me. I considered asking him for more details, but I decided to just move on. I'm not exactly sure what was going on with the masked men, but I'm glad I managed to get away. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.